Coffee break games have been around since the dawn of video gaming, when putting a quarter into an arcade cabinet provided a brief but cheap thrill. Archetypal titles like Snake, Asteroids, Arcanoid, and Space Invaders have countless iterations and shameless knockoffs. Minor differences aside, each of these games share a common aim: to provide a simple, frantic, skill-based experience that lasts just a few minutes.
Since those days, arcade-style games have largely overcrowded mobile app stores and shovelware key collections, with each knockoff usually becoming more forgettable than the last. But every once in a while, a title comes along that puts a new spin on the old classics. Such is the case with SNKRX, the unpronounceable subject of today's backlog quest.
Welcome to Backlog Quest, where we chuck our change into ever-expanding game libraries in order to bring the best to you. My name is Boss Sauce.
And I'm Roland Coons. And together,
we are the two-headed hero.
Today's subject is a bit of a departure from the RPGs and niche indie adventures we normally cover, but this little coffee break game is deep and addictive enough to warrant the old backlog quest treatment. SNKRX recently dropped onto Steam on May 17th, 2021.
It is the second game released from Brazilian solo dev A327EX. While their debut title, Bite Path, was an addictive take on Asteroids that added a gigantic MMORPG-style skill tree and class customizations, SNKRX instead riffs on a different arcade classic, Snake.
Snake, are you okay?
Snake?
SNKRX? Am I saying it right? Is it SNKRX or SNKRX or SNKRX or SNKRX? I don't know, whatever.
I think it's SNKRX.
SNKRX. That seems legit.
Obvious influences and naming confusion aside, the differences SNKRX brings to the table are immediately apparent. The game opens up to a shop menu where players can purchase their first unit. Rather than sci-fi or contemporary, the descriptive flavor is decidedly high fantasy, with units bearing names and talents like Scout, Wizard, Ranger, and Swordsman.
Upon hitting the happy little go button and entering the arena, you're treated to the game field, a nondescript checkered gray box. Your little group marches along in a line over this arena as enemies teleport in from predetermined locations, and the dance begins.
Due to the Spartan, wobbly pixel aesthetic, it's a little tough to tell exactly what the setting of SNKRX is, since all the enemy units and party members are simple geometric shapes. The store page offers no clues whatsoever, simply stating that the game is an arcade shooter roguelike, where you control a snake made of multiple heroes. And while that's an accurate description, it still leaves me curious.
The health and cast bars of your units are represented by identical oval shapes in the lower left, but your party members are rounded cubes, so are your party members meant to be the same thing as the enemies, but like stood up on their end? Or what are they supposed to be? Bacteria? Mitochondria? Pills? Is SNKRX taking place solely within the human body, or in some kind of a weird square petri dish?
My guess is that it's riffing off of Dr. Mario, and I guess that would make all of the enemies little pills, and you are a tapeworm?
Maybe it's in the future when all medicine is delivered via gray checkered box.
Yeah, I think we're a nano tapeworm. Anyhow, since we're unlikely to Scooby-Doo this mystery, let's move on to a big plus side of the visuals. The simple geometric visual design has the advantage of making the action easy to read, even when the game's bullet hell is burning at its brightest, and the bouncy soundtrack is an added bonus that makes it easy to zone out to the game. At first glance, SNKRX appears overly simple, just geometric shapes filled with single flat colors floating in the same background and arena layout over and over and over, level after level. But there's no need for more. Each character's attack effects match their color and class, so you can tell what effect belongs to which character, even in the midst of more and more chaos. The visual design is so simple and clear and unified that even at high levels when everything is exploding all of the time, the player can still tell what's going on. And that could be it. That could be enough to carry across this game design in a very utilitarian manner. But the corner of visual design in which SNKRX's developer doesn't skimp is juice. There's a bit of visual bounce to nearly everything, which is reinforced by the simple yet charming sound effects. Each of the characters and particles has a subtle drop shadow, which quickly and expertly gives the illusion of depth. Tiny flashes cover the screen, accenting just about every important event. Splashes of particles fly out in random directions whenever a projectile hits an enemy, adding some organic visual flair. And the entire game has been unified with some sort of chonky pixelation filter.
As in BytePath, the majority of the gameplay is controlled with 2 buttons. One to turn your little choo-choo train of warriors left, and one that turns them, you guessed it, right. Shooting is automatic, and usually targets the nearest foe. You can also bump the enemies to hurt them, but this damages your little heroes as well. This can definitely be used to an advantage in certain builds, we'll get there in a minute, but care must still be taken to protect your units, because once they're gone for the rest of the level. Losing all your units during an arena battle is game over, and you start the entire process again from the shop with 2 measly gold pieces. Your mom told you not to spend all your gold pieces, you did it anyway.
I spent all of my allowance on a Snickers and a comic, and now I don't have enough for an archer. Completing a level rewards the player with gold to spend on more units and buying 2 or more of the same unit upgrades the existing one instead of filling up a slot in your battle snake. Maxed out units gain special powers or bonuses, and having multiple units of the same class will also yield bonuses.
Anyway, on top of the level and class bonuses, beating certain arenas drops 3 random powerful artifacts, and the game allows you to choose only one to complement your build. This is where SNKRX gets truly interesting. The possible permutations are pretty much countless.
There are a couple more subtle strategic elements that can influence your snaky success. Deciding where a unit is positioned in your chain can have its own effect on survivability. Do you want your squishy units near the front to be more maneuverable, or in the rear so that your tough guys can try to body block for them?
Choosing when to spend your gold and when to save it also requires some thought. Like, do you want that Snickers in a comic book, or do you want another level of archers?
I want another Snickers and a comic book.
Yeah, I want a Snickers, and I want an Archie comic, cause Jughead eats food and that's the joke. Choosing when to spend your gold and when to save it also requires some thought. If your party of square lads is about to face down an elite boss, do you roll the dice on trying to get some upgrades, or do you take a chance on swapping out for that expensive and untested unit? Or do you just give it a go with your current build, hoping to capitalize on the boss's payoff and come out better for it later on?
Each individual lineup always has something that can be tweaked or optimized. While finding out what works for you and your playstyle is paramount, sometimes experimenting with the hand you're dealt can result in some surprisingly effective combos. On the other hand, not all builds are created equal. Critter builds and curse builds were tricky to curate, and the game's uneven difficulty provides the occasional punishing hurdle.
In SNKRX, winning the 25 level run is not the end of the game. No! Finishing off the big boss on level 25 rewards players with an extra unit slot and bumps up the difficulty a notch, allowing you to continue your quest in New Game Plus and continue experimenting with even more build possibilities. A full run only takes a matter of minutes from start to finish, so it's obvious that SNKRX is meant to be enjoyed over and over for short periods of time, but it is still compelling enough to be played for hours on end.
It's all well and good for a coffee break game to have a satisfying minute-long gameplay loop, but where both SNKRX and BytePath go above and beyond is in giving players a longer-term goalpost to reach towards throughout their run. In BytePath, this is the massive branching character building screen. In SNKRX, it's the tableau of incomplete character class sets for you to consider and work towards completing. In the New Game Plus, getting an even longer snake whenever you beat the game is a great immediate visual reward, as well as a great way to scale the game for indefinite play. These are the elements that elevate A327X's games from design experiments to full-on addictions.
There's just one feature that would really be nice, an options menu in the shop so that you can quit or save the game rather than having to start the level to get to the options menu. Hopefully this oversight will be patched in since it's still actively being supported by the dev, but seriously, What a value. And for under $3, less than the price of the coffee you'd enjoy on your break, anyone with even a mild interest should pick up and play SNKRX post haste. Kazoodle!
Kazoodle, he's a poodle. He's a hole in the universe where a poodle should be. And he speaks through kazoo.
Alright, Kazoodle, it's time for you to end the world. Yeah, how long is this gonna take, Kazoodle? Alright, I'm gonna play another round here. Oh, I'm disintegrating.